Hello everyone and welcome to the part 8 of this MCP series. In our lab today, we will learn how to create a streamable HTTP stateless server. So let's get started. Scenario for our lab today. We need to build a streamable HTTP stateless server with capabilities for tool invocation and notifications. So you should be able to invoke a server tool and send notifications using that tool. This particular server needs to expose a single tool, and the name of that tool is Start Notification Stream. This particular tool will accept 3 parameters: interval, count, and caller. So let's take an example. Let's say when you invoke this tool, Start Notification Stream, you will say, I need 3 notifications. The interval between these notifications is going to be 2 seconds. And the caller name or the caller ID is NAM. So essentially, it will send you notification 1 of 3, then 2 of 3, and then 3 of 3. So it's a very simple server. You just basically call the server tool, you pass the required parameters, the server tool will be invoked, and then the notifications will be sent. Very simple, nothing complicated at all. So hopefully this scenario is clear. Reference URLs. So please keep this reference URL handy. This URL is for a GitHub repo. So as you see, this is GitHub. This is from Model Context Protocol, and it is part of the Python SDK. So keep this URL handy. In fact, what you need to do is you need to fork this repo into your GitHub account. So keep this handy. You will need it as we proceed further ahead. I will have this URL mentioned in the description of this video as well. Environment setup. I personally prefer to provision an EC2 instance or a VM while I'm doing labs. The reason I do that is because I don't like to clutter my laptop and I actually experiment with a lot of technologies. So my recommendation to you is to basically provision a VM to do this lab. But if you want to use your laptop or desktop, that's perfectly fine as well. If you want to provision an EC2 instance, go ahead for Windows Server 2025 base, C5 extra large with 60 gigabytes of disk space on AWS. If not, use your laptop or your desktop. The next thing that you need to do is you need to fork the GitHub repo into your GitHub account. We're talking about this repo. So go ahead and fork this repo into your GitHub account. Finally, if you do not have these, please go ahead and download and install them. What you will need is Visual Studio Code, Git for Windows, Python. I'm using the version 3.13.7. You can use either this or higher, and Python extension for VS Code by Microsoft. So in my case, in order to speed up this particular lab, I have actually gone ahead and completed this environment setup. So let us quickly review this. So this is my EC2 instance. So this is my EC2 instance. This is the GitHub URL from Model Context Protocol. This is the Python SDK repository. This is my GitHub account, as you can see. What I have done over here is I have gone ahead and forked this repository. If you see, I have Python SDK over here in my GitHub account. So I've already gone ahead and forked this. Also, if you see over here in downloads, I have VS Code, Python, and Git for Windows. So all of these have been downloaded and installed. If I bring this down, you will be able to see I have VS Code, Git, and this is VS Code in action over here. And we can actually eventually, when we get started, we will check for our Python version. I've also installed the extension for Python by Microsoft. So all of these have been done. So I've completed this. I've provisioned my EC2 instance. I have forked my GitHub repo. I've downloaded and installed all of these softwares. So my environment is set up and I am good to go. Now let us go ahead and build and finally run the server. So you need to go ahead and clone the repo on your machine. So let us do that first. So let me go back to my EC2 instance and close this. I am basically going to go ahead and close this and close this. And basically we are right here. So file, and then where's my GitHub? Oh, I thought I downloaded Git for Windows. Okay, I need to probably close this again and just restart it. Okay. Now let's see. Okay, so clone repository. So now it is giving me the option of cloning the repository. So if this happens with you, just close the code and open it again. Okay, just close VS Code and open it again. So clone repository, clone from GitHub, allow, continue. So we are going to clone this repository on this machine from my GitHub account. So if you see over here, this is my GitHub account, and this is Python SDK right here. So select Python SDK. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to C:, create a separate folder over here. Select this folder as a repository destination. And it will clone the repository, open the repository. And this is the entire Python SDK repository that Model Context Protocol has provided. So set the trust and we are good. So if you go over here, you will see there are some docs. There are some examples of clients, some servers, and a whole bunch of other things. What we are interested, particularly as per a scenario, is to create a streamable HTTP stateless server. This is what we are interested in. In fact, if I go over here, PC, C:, Namrata, and go to examples, servers, you will see this is what we are interested in. Okay, so we have basically cloned the whole repository, but what we are going to use is this particular folder. So I'm going to go ahead and close this folder. Okay, and we have completed this step. Now let us go ahead and open this particular folder for streamable HTTP stateless. This is an example or a sample that model context protocol has provided to us. So go to open folder and go back over there. This is the one. Okay, so select folder and open it. And if you see, this particular folder has 3 files. So let me close these. We have init, main, and server. These are all Python files. So we have basically opened this folder successfully. Now, before we continue further ahead, it is time to check our Python version. So let me quickly copy the command. Control C, go back. Open a terminal over here in VS Code. Pull it up and paste it right there and hit enter. So this is our Python version. So we are good. Now let me go back. And we have completed this particular step. Now what we need to do is we need to check for all the dependencies in our code. Remember, this code has been provided to us, so we may not have all the dependencies. So we will check for the required dependencies and install those packages from VS Code terminal. So let us go ahead and review that. So if you go to server.py and you see over here it's showing you 10 problems. So go to 10 problems and you will see that it actually uses a lot of packages inside. And these are the different dependencies that we don't have on our machine. And hence these dependencies are being called out as missing. So what we need to do is let us resolve these dependencies. Please resolve these dependencies in a specific manner. There's a reason why I'm showing this to you. If you kind of go in some haywire manner or you kind of, mess up some of these dependencies or mess up the order, it tends to go for a toss. So I am going to follow a specific uh, let's say sequence of installing these dependencies. Please try and follow them. This sequence has worked for me. If there's a sequence that has worked for you, please post that in the chat window or in the comments. So first one that we have is any IO. So let's go over here and say pip install any IO and hit enter. So some of these dependencies will be really very fast. They don't take a lot of time. But yes, you just have to maintain a certain sequence. And as we install these dependencies, you will see that this number will automatically go down. So we've installed any IO. So this number should ideally go down if it's installed correctly. So still 10. I'm waiting for it to go down. Hopefully it goes down. Okay, it's not going down yet. Okay, let's continue further. It'll refresh. The next one is pip install click. Okay, so this one has been installed successfully. So hopefully now it goes down. Okay, maybe not. Is there a way that I can refresh this? Force refresh this? Typically it goes by itself, so I've never tried to force refresh it, but okay, that's fine. Let's continue further ahead. Hopefully these dependencies work out really very well. So we did any IO and click. Now the next one is Starlet. So let's go over here and basically say pip install Starlet. So this one has been installed successfully as well. Okay, let's see if I go up and down. I'm just a little worried because this number is not going down for some reason. Okay, now let's see. Oh, still kind of not recognizing those packages. Okay, let's see. We will continue further ahead. If it does not work out, we will see. So the next one that we have is Ubicorn. So let's see, pip install Ubicorn. Okay, so this one also installed successfully. And which is the other one that we have? So we finished. The last one that we have is MCP. So pip install MCP. This one takes a while, so please be patient. So it's still installing. So MCP has also been installed. So let me quickly clear the screen. And now all of our dependencies have been installed successfully. So hopefully these problems now go away. It's kind of surprising that it's not refreshing itself. Okay, let me close this. Let me reopen it. Okay, still taking the older one. I have two shells and problems are still there as well. Okay. Anyways, we've tried to install them. Hopefully all of these work out. So this has been done. Okay, let me do one more thing if possible. Okay, I'll try to close this completely. I wanted them to be resolved automatically, but now, see, now it's gone. Okay, so all of our installations have hopefully been done successfully. So it refreshed itself, which is a good part. Okay, so the next step that we have is to review this code. So I'm going to review this code briefly. Of course, you can use different AI assistant tools, or you can simply just read through it. It is just one simple file, the server.py, and review through this code in depth. Okay, so let's just quickly review this at a high level. So in server.py, what we have over here on the top is the context lib along with logging. Then we have collections, and finally at the bottom we have typing, and we have imported any type. We have any IO along with click, and we have MCP. You can see types server, and most importantly, it has basically requested for streamable HTTP session manager. We have Starlet, and within Starlet, we have middleware cores, routing, and types. So these are some of the imports right here on the top, both inbuilt and third party. Then we have a logger over here, that is logging. Finally, under logging, what we have over here is we have the option to set the port. So if you see, it is accepting a parameter called as port. If you send the port number, then it will use that port number. Otherwise, it will use the 3000 as the default port. So basically, port to listen on for HTTP. Then it is talking about logging over here. So basically, the different levels of logging: debug, info, warning, error, critical. Default is info. And then over here, finally, it is giving you an option that, hey, do you want to enable JSON responses instead of SSE streams? Default is false, but if you want to enable that, you can. Then you have the main function. The main function is taking your port, log level, and whether JSON responses are needed or not. Continuing further, you're basically creating a server object. This is basically a server object right there. And then you have call tool. Now, this call tool is basically taking three arguments. Remember, when we were discussing the scenario, we had three arguments: interval, count, and caller. So those three arguments are mentioned right here. So you have to send the interval, the number of notifications you want, the total count, and the caller ID or the caller name. Then it basically takes the count and goes into a loop over here and basically sends out the notification. The way this notification is sent out is notification X of Y from caller, that is the caller name. And this goes into a loop till the count, to the time the count has been reached. Finally, you have a sleep in between. Once the count has been reached, it breaks from this particular loop and continues further ahead. Then over here, you have the function to list the tools. So this is the name of our server tool. Start notification stream. It has three parameters. You can see the three parameters are mentioned right here along with the description: interval, count, and caller. At the bottom, we are creating the session manager over here for true stateless mode. So you see this is the app. Event store is none. That is because we are not storing the different events. If JSON response is yes, then it will set it. And remember that we have to create this server as stateless. Hence, it is set as true. And then over here, you have handle streamable HTTP. You have async context manager being created over here. You have the Starlet app. you're mounting your MCP server over there. This is basically the streamable HTTP. You're having your course middleware being called over here. So if you see, it's mentioned over here in the comments, right? So wrap ASGI application with course middleware to expose MCP session ID header for browser-based clients. So that's why you need course. And these are the allowed methods: post, get, and delete. This is your MCP session ID. And finally, you have your Ubicon. Ubicon is going to run your server and host the server on your local host, which is 127.0.0.1 on the port that you have requested. By default, the port is 3000. So we have reviewed through this code at a very, very high level. If you need further assistance, please go ahead and copy this code. You can use Copilot, you can use Q, you can use ChatGPT, and basically, read through this code with those AI assistants, and the AI assistant can help you step by step as to what this code is doing or performing. So we have completed this step, and now it is time to run our server. So go back over here and go to read.md, and you will see that this is the command to run the server. UV run MCP streamable HTTP stateless. So copy this and pull your terminal window up. Go to your terminal and paste it right there. So paste it right there and hit enter. Now you see that we have gotten an error. It is basically saying that UV is not recognized. The reason why this is happening is because UV was not installed. We missed that. So if you are getting this error, please do pip install UV. And now it will install UV. UV is needed because it basically helps to build and package the entire server. So it will go ahead and then start the build and start packaging this server. So now go ahead and run the command all over again. So we are not passing the port, so it will by default run on port 3000. So hit enter, and now it should work really very well. So if you see over here, it's telling you that it's building the server and it's preparing all the packages. This is what UV does. It prepares all the packages for the build, and it will continue further ahead. Once the build has been completed successfully, then it will start the server. So almost there. We have 2 more to go. This takes some time, so please be patient. But hopefully, if everything was done correctly, then our server will be started on port 3000. So as you see, it's telling us that the server process has started. It is waiting for the application startup. Application startup is complete, and Ubicon is actually running on HTTP. This is a local host, and the port is 3000. If you click this link and you go over there, it will actually open up over here, and it will say not found. And you will get an error over here, 404 not found. So don't be scared. Your server is still running, and your server is most likely running successfully. Now, if you want to test this server, scroll down, you will need MCP inspector. So if you go to this particular repo in GitHub, MCP inspector repo is there. You will have to again clone this repo in your GitHub account, and then clone this again on your, sorry, fork this repo in your GitHub account, clone this on your machine, then build this, and then eventually test your server. So in this particular lab, I'm not going to test this server using MCP inspector. I'll be creating the next part. In the next part, I will show you how to basically get this inspector up and running. And then we will test this server and see if our server is running successfully. So this is it for today. I hope that this lab was helpful. Do post your comments. If you are new to my channel, do like and subscribe. And I will see you shortly in some other video. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.